Welcome to Zambia Today program. I'm your host, Faith Katai. Every year on the 3rd of May, Zambia joins the rest of the world in commemorating World Press Freedom Day. This day serves as a reminder to governments of their commitment to uphold press freedom, and it's also a moment of reflection for media professionals on issues of press freedom and professional ethics. This year, the Zambian government, in collaboration with UNESCO, hosted a 2-day World Press Freedom Day conference at Mlungushi International Conference Center in Lusaka, held from the 4th to 5th, 2026 of May. The event centered on the theme, Shaping a Future at Peace, Promoting Press Freedom for Human Rights, Development and Security. And so on Zambia Today, we are focusing on the recently held conference. And to tell us more about this conference, I'm joined in the studio by the chairperson of the WPFDC National Organizing Committee, Mr. Enoch Ngoma. Sir, welcome to Zambia Today program.
Thank you very much, and I'm happy to be here to discuss World Press Freedom Day.
Okay, so Mr. Ngoma, this recently held conference for the World Press Freedom Day. Tell us, what was it all about?
Yeah, first and foremost, we should look at the theme itself. That will guide us on what exactly the conference was all about. The theme that says Shaping the Future at Peace, Promoting Press Freedom for Human Rights, Development and Security. So this theme was aimed at ensuring that journalism as a profession, we are supposed to play a key role in promoting peace across the globe, promoting security across the globe, and also ensuring that we are the ones who are building, we are preventing any turmoil, any wars, any conflicts across the world. So that's why this theme was more befitting actually. And this World Press Freedom Day this year, because of this theme, a number of topics were discussed based on this theme, and a number of journalists, I think, were enriched because of what came out during this World Press Freedom Day. I think you said what was the reason why?
Yes, the reason of this, the purpose of this conference.
The purpose of the World Press Freedom Day conference. So at most, the purpose of this World Press Freedom Day conference was to bring together journalists, media practitioners, other stakeholders involved with media, like researchers, like lecturers, other people, including civil society organizations that deal with media issues, to come together on a round table and look at how press freedom is venturing across the globe, and how is press freedom here in our own country in Zambia. So there were so many issues around press freedom, and press freedom nowadays has been invaded, so to speak, by AI. So a lot of issues came out on AI, how it is impacting on operations of the media, operations of the journalists. So many things were discussed, yes, and we can safely say that this was a very good opportunity, especially for Zambia, to be part of these discussions which centered on the press freedom for a journalist based on AI and other issues.
Great. Okay. So the theme for the conference, as you earlier mentioned, which is Shaping a Future of Peace, Promoting Press Freedom for Human Rights, Development and Security. Mr. Ngoma, is this a reality for Zambian journalists?
Yeah, I like that question. Indeed, all these issues of peace, security, human rights, they all center around democracy. When there's a strong democracy in any society, then all these things, they fall in place. I was listening to some discussion on peace and security and so on, where somebody mentioned that without democracy, there can be no peace. Without democracy, there can be no security. Then I saw a quote from I think the UN Secretary General, who said the press freedom, without press freedom, there will be no freedoms anywhere. Without press freedom, there will be no freedoms anywhere. So all this means that the press is at the center of all democratic governance systems. In Zambia, we have come from far in terms of journalism, press freedom. We look back some years back, we saw how the media was treated, how the media was harassed, how the media was not looked at as a partner in development. We saw how radio stations, TV stations, both public, private, were a playground for political party cadres to come and attack and do whatever they want, damage equipment. So that with that background, we look at where we are today. Are we still experiencing that? Certainly the answer is no. We look at how journalists themselves were more vulnerable to, for instance, to bribes. You know, they could not work unless people give them money. But now we are seeing a change or a shift where we can see journalists now, they are more independent in their operations every day. And even media owners, I think to some extent, they are trying to give adequate resources for their journalists to be covering these issues. Of course, there are still some individual journalists who just want to go around and look for transport refunds and look for lunch allowances and so on. But on the whole, we are seeing that the media in Zambia is moving somewhere. So based on that, I think this theme is more applicable to us here in Zambia. We are lucky in Zambia, of course, there is no security concerns which are serious like in other countries. We are lucky that we are more peaceful here in Zambia. But at the same time, like President Hakainde Hichilema usually says, that instability anywhere is instability everywhere. So it is for us journalists to ensure that we work towards bridging or bringing about an environment for peace. One sentence by a journalist can cause war in this country, which everybody else will suffer. That is why it is important that this theme we are looking at during this World Press Freedom Day this year is befitting for Zambia. We continue as journalists to ensure that we propagate peaceful messages, we propagate uniting messages, we propagate information that is going to build this country rather than destroy the country.
Awesome. Zambia heads to the polls in a few months, and from now on, what are some of the things that you think Zambian journalists should put into consideration even before the general elections?
Yeah, so these the elections that are coming. These are critical moments for the media. One of the things that we should bear in mind as we go to these elections as media in Zambia is to look at the same theme that we are talking about, shaping a future at peace. How do we, as journalists, implement this theme in our elections this year? We are talking about peace, peace, peace. The role of the journalist during elections is very clear: to inform the public adequately, but with facts, responsibility, and also counter-checking whatever we are reporting, that this is not going to fuel any dissent from the public. So it is important that as journalists we equip ourselves. Another thing that we should be able to be doing is ourselves as media houses. Let us have in-house training for our journalists to understand how to report elections. The Electoral Commission of Zambia itself, it tries, but it cannot educate all the media practitioners on how to cover elections. That is why it is important that media houses, they conduct in-house training to ensure that journalists are properly trained and are ready to cover elections. Another thing we should do is ourselves and as individual journalists, let us look at what can we contribute to the electoral process in Zambia. Are we ready to cover the elections? If not, there's a lot of information out there. Even if you're not trained by anyone, but if you're a journalist who is ready, you want to cover elections adequately, appropriately, you must be able to do some research, find out how best you can conduct yourself during this period of elections. We've got a period before elections, we've got a period during actual elections, then we've got a period after the elections. So all these three periods demand that the journalists are able to give information that is not going to destroy but to build this country. We've seen other countries where elections are concerned, where there's bloodshed and so on. We don't want to see that in Zambia. That's why the role of the media becomes critical, because the media is a pacifier. The media gives information that is going to make people to make independent decisions where and how to vote. So the role of the media is critical, and it is important that all stakeholders will work together, media owners, journalists who work for these media owners, journalists who are independent, who are freelance journalists, the government, the electoral processes, the police, all the stakeholders, civil society organizations, we should work together to ensure that we have a peaceful election in August.
We now pause for a short break. Don't go away.
Just like Saka and Odegaard need to work together for the perfect play,
rising to the occasion again.
Your subscription is also at its best when paired with DSTV Stream.
This is not a coincidence.
With DSTV Stream, you can watch live TV or catch-up box sets anywhere, anytime, on any smart device. And that's just the start of its amazing features.
Are you sure?
I think this is legit.
So whenever you want to enjoy DSTV, don't forget your free companion app, DSTV Stream.
Welcome back. In case you have just joined us, this is Zambia Today. We are focusing on the recently held World Press Freedom Day Conference, which was hosted by Zambia from 4th to 5th of May, 2026. And I'm talking to Mr. Enoch Ngoma, who was the chairperson for the organizing committee. Mr. Ngoma, are you able to mention some of the outcomes from the conference?
Yes, there were so many outcomes, but I can mention, I'm sure, one or two for today only. One of the outcomes of that conference was that, first and foremost, Zambia showcased where it is in terms of press freedom and freedom of expression, of course. And one of the issues that was highlighted was the legal reforms in Zambia. So in the legal reforms, examples that were given, for example, was the removal of the defamation of the president law. That law was removed, and it was an inhibitor in operations of the media. Another thing that was showcased was the enactment of the Access to Information law for Zambian people. Now, this law, we know it is not only for journalists, it is also for the citizenry. But for the journalists, this law entails that now we are able to even do investigative journalism, because the law empowers us to have information that we need, that information that might be not in public domain, but it is lying out somewhere there in a drawer or in a computer of somebody. They can't give you that information. Now the law gives us power to access that information. So these are some of the key issues that ourselves as Zambians showcased to the rest of the world. And also another thing that we highlighted was the focus on information integrity. This was one of the outcomes that was debated, and we had a recommendation on it, which says that AI and the other amplification they all require very urgent coordinated action. So the conference said we must now move beyond diagnosis, but towards coordinated action, meaning that we must focus on the integrity of all the information that is disseminated out there. And we must act together as media from across the world. All countries must ensure that there is integrity in the information that we release to the public. That way, not only the media will be respected, but even our own countries, we shall be respected as a country because of the good information, the useful information that we are sending out there as journalists. Okay.
Great. How does the future look like for Zambian journalists, especially considering that government enacted the Access to Information Bill and has not closed most of the media organization in the past 5 years?
Yes, indeed, and those are some of the issues that we also showcased during the conference, that in Zambia, historically, some media houses were closed down, but currently there's no media house that has been closed down in the last 4 years. We've seen the multiplication of media houses. So the future of Zambian journalism is still quite good when you look at it from pointers that have happened in the last few years. For the Zambian journalists, we can only say that let us continue to work together in unity. What is destroying the media in Zambia is disunity among media players. Sometimes we've seen, for example, I'll give one example. We were trying to come up with a media self-regulatory framework that is supposed to be backed by an act of parliament. So we are moving together as a team. All stakeholders were involved until the last minute when the bill was about to be taken to parliament. Some media colleagues, stakeholders, pulled out of that process and said, no, let us form our own media self-regulation that is not backed by law. Now we are looking at this process that came a long way for a number of years. Then at the last minute, others pull out. So it gave us now that disunity in the media, finding that some people are now supporting this other group, some people are now supporting this other group. So there's a lot of disunity amongst ourselves. We need to work together as media, as journalists, and that way we shall make our future bright, actually, once we work together. We are being observed by many other media bodies, media associations outside this country. They are all calling on us to say, can we have you guys working together? Can you come up with one media self-regulatory framework that is going to guide your operations? Now, sometimes the importance of a media self-regulatory framework might not be seen as it is. It is important to have a media regulatory framework because this is a guide on how we are going to cover elections, for example. This is a guide on how we are going to cover certain court cases, for example, which have got peculiar circumstances. It's going to be a guide on how we are going to cover, for instance, visiting VIPs in Zambia. So all these things, they fall under the self-regulatory framework. Once we unite on that, certainly we are going to have a vibrant media, and we shall have a media that is responsible, a media that is factual, a media that is going to look at balancing stories all the time, once we have a regulatory framework. So the important thing to observe here is that we need to be working in unity as a media body is in Zambia.
Wonderful. With the rise of social media, it seems everyone now considers themselves as a journalist. How would you advise professional journalists to conduct themselves in such an environment?
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. It also borders on the same issue. I'm talking about unity, because social media is operated by anyone. Every Jim and Jack can wake up today and post things on social media. Now, the unfortunate part is that some people post on social media. They masquerade as journalists. They are not journalists at all. A quick definition of a journalist is one who has been trained to gather information, to process that information, and then to disseminate that information. Now, during processing of that information is where we do fact-checking of the stories that we write as journalists. The people who post things on social media, they don't have that processing factor. They just post whatever comes. And you find that so much of that information, one, is not factual, two, is not verified, three, it's unethical, because sometimes they post pictures that are not supposed to be posted on social media. So they are actually a threat to the profession of journalism. Now, what should a journalist who is professional do? A professional journalist will not pick and paste what he or she sees on social media without verification. And this is our worry now as media bodies. Some media houses, they just pick and paste in their news bulletins, in their documentaries, in their newspapers, and it has become a source of concern. A professional journalist is always supposed to stick to his professional standards. These professional standards include responsible reporting, factual reporting, and also to ensure that news is balanced. Social media carries things which are not balanced at all. And yet some media houses, they just pick and paste. So it is important for us as journalists to stick to our professional ethics. That way we are going to be answering to what social media is doing. Let us not be carried away by social media, including AI. AI-generated information sometimes may not be factual. And it's good, like AI, they put a disclaimer at the end of whatever they give you that this may not be factual, kindly counter-check. But ourselves as journalists, we don't counter-check. Sometimes we just go ahead and publish. So it is incumbent upon ourselves as media to remain, if we want to remain professional, let us work as professionals. Let us know our ethics all the time. Let us be responsible at all times. Thank you.
Great. As we come to the end of the program, what are your closing remarks?
I would like to call on journalists in Zambia, first and foremost, to ensure that we cover these elections that are coming very soon. We cover them professionally. Let us be professional. Let's not be the ones, let's not be a conduit to bring chaos in our country. Let us be responsible in our reporting. We might be inclined to support a particular candidate or a particular political party, but that should not lead us into writing stories, disseminating information that is going to bring chaos in our country. And finally, I would like to also thank all the stakeholders that came on board to ensure that we have a successful Global World Press Freedom Day conference in Zambia. It was, of course, hard work, but we managed to pull it through. The conference went well, and we had over 170 or so external delegates from across different countries, from African countries, from Europe, even from the USA. We had a number of delegates coming from far away. I would like also, on behalf of my colleagues in the National Organizing Committee, to thank the government of the Republic of Zambia through the Ministry of Information and Media for giving us that opportunity to organize this conference on behalf of the government. So we are really thankful for that, and we pray that we shall continue engaging as media professionals, as media bodies in our country to work together with the government of the day all the time. And thank you for this opportunity to bring me here to come and discuss the World Press Freedom Day. World Press Freedom Day Global Conference that happened in Lusaka on the 4th and 5th of May 2026. And by the way, the next conference will be held in Ethiopia, Addis Ababa.
Mr. Ngoma, thank you so much for making an appearance on Zambia Today.
Thank you very much.
Viewers, that's all we had for you on Zambia Today program. My name is Faith Katai. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.